Okay, hey, 7th grade. Today should be Wednesday the 27th as you're viewing this video. And we are going to work more on subtracting integers. But today we're going to focus on distance because there's something very special about distance. And we talked about this in instruction a few times, that distance is in a straight line for our purposes. And it indicates a positive whole number, because with distance we have direction. Okay, so we don't need to indicate the direction with a positive and negative. We can just list the distance. So it relates to subtraction and absolute value, which we've talked about before. And it's really important. This right here is the key. It's positive. So no matter what the difference is between those numbers, your distance is always going to be positive. So let's look at the proof of that. So we're going to evaluate each of the following. 16 minus 5, you should have gotten 11. And 5 minus 16, so that's kind of like negative 16 plus 5 is negative 11. But what is the distance between those two numbers? It's 11, right? We count it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 5 and 16, the distance is 11. So when we're finding the difference between these, one is negative and one is positive. So how can we ensure that subtraction will give us the distance, no matter which order we perform the subtraction in? So we're going to get a question right now. See if you can remember what that is called. So you should have chosen use the absolute value, right? So you use the absolute value, and absolute value tells us the distance away from 0. And since distance is always positive, absolute value is positive. So here is our rule generalized right here. Distance and subtraction. If a and b are two numbers on the number line, then both the absolute value of a minus b and the absolute value of b minus a will give the distance between the numbers. Okay, so let's try one. Points are plotted at -3 right here and +6 right here. Answer the following questions. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and evaluate both of these equations, 6 minus -3 and -3 minus 6, to find out the distance. And what I want you to do to both of these problems before you solve them is go ahead and throw those absolute value signs on the outside there. Okay, go ahead and try those. Okay, so you can see 6 minus -3, we can rewrite that as 6 plus 3, which would give me 9. Absolute value of 9, which is 9. Okay, now I have -3 and -6. -3 minus 6 would be the same as -3 plus -6. That gives me -9. Absolute value of -9 is 9. Okay? It is that straightforward. All right. Let's keep going, and hopefully we'll be looking at some larger numbers. Okay. So practice with the distance interpretation of subtraction is important. So you have 6 problems. We're going to do 2 together. I think we're going to do really B and F together. Nope. Let's do C and F together, and then the rest you'll be doing on your own. So let's start with C. We are finding the distance using subtraction and absolute value, okay? So I have two numbers here, negative 18 and negative 2. Now we already know that order doesn't matter because we're doing absolute value. We've proven it doesn't matter what order we subtract these in. So I'm just going to do negative 18 minus negative 2. So I'm going to write that with my absolute value sign, negative 18 minus negative 2. And I'm also going to rewrite it as negative 18 plus 2. Okay, so I'm at negative 18 and I'm going in the positive direction 2. So that'll get me to negative 16. And the absolute value of negative 16 is 16. Okay? Alright, let's go ahead and copy that down. And I'm going to move on to F, because I know you guys freak out about fractions, even though it's just subtraction, right? Okay. Okay, I have 11/6 and negative 7/3. I'm going to make sure those denominators are the same first. So I'm going to change negative 7/3. I'm going to multiply that by 2 over 2. And that's going to become negative 14/6. Because I can't add or subtract them if they have different denominators. Okay, so now I'm just going to subtract. So I have 11/6. Absolute value of 11/6 minus negative 14/6. And I'm going to rewrite this because I have two negatives. So minus a negative is the same as adding. So now I have 11/6. Oh boy, this is great. Plus 14/6. So much nicer, right? Now remember, you can manipulate these to make it easier on yourself, right? If you understood back in C that if I have negative 18 and I subtract negative 2, that was negative 16, you could have skipped this step right here, right? All right, so 11 plus 14 is 25, sixth. Which gives me just 25/6. And please leave it like this, okay? Unless you're asked to do it in the problem, you can just leave it like this. Unless you're giving an answer choice that says write as a mixed number, just leave it like this, okay? But we're going to write that as a mixed number anyway, just for those of you who like that. But I prefer it in this form. So 6 goes into 25 4 times, and we're left with 1/6. Okay? All right, go ahead and work on those 4 problems. And you'll have a few multiple choice questions, and then you'll be ready to check that in. Okay, here you go, guys. Here's some answers. Some things I want to point out. So if you've had any corrections or anything to make, please pause after I've done the explanations, and then you can fix your work. I want you to see here that two negatives equal a positive. Look right here, I'm adding 2 negatives, so instead of that subtraction, I changed it into adding a negative. And then just adding 2 negatives is simple. It's like adding 2 positives. But notice that negative went away because I took the absolute value of it. So it's distance. So the distance is not negative 43, the distance is 43. Same with E. Oh, so here's something with E. E took me a second. So I'm down here at E. I was like, negative 4.57 minus negative 1.36. I was like, oh, I can just do that subtraction and make sure that it's negative, right? I can just subtract that and make sure it's negative. So both of these numbers are negative. So all I did was the decimal subtraction over here, which you guys are pretty good at, not gonna lie. And I made sure I kept it negative. So I have 3.21, 3 and 21 hundredths. So again, if you do not have some of these correct, then please fix right now. Press pause and fix. Otherwise, I'm moving on. All right. So you do have a quiz on Monday. And this is something that you will probably see on a quiz, something like this. This is exercise 4 is a real world application. Okay, so a roadster and sports car are having a long distance race. Since the sports car is naturally faster than the roadster, it starts at a position of negative 12 miles. Oh, so the roadster got an advantage. What kind of advantage did the roadster get? Because the sports car is back here and the roadster is up here. That's their starting position. Okay, so it says right here, starting position and starting position. All right, so we need to figure out what distance separates them. So I want you to write an expression. The video is going to pause and you're going to have a question. Hey, you could have written this expression 2 different ways. Pretty cool, right? So I have negative 18 minus negative 12, the absolute value. Those two negatives turn into a positive, so 18 plus 12 is 30. Okay. Or I have negative 12 minus 18. So that's the same as negative 12 plus negative 18, which is negative 30. But I have the absolute value, so that is also 30. All right, so if the sports car travels 10 miles per hour faster than the roadster, how many hours will it take to catch up? Okay, so this is just a little bonus question, since we aren't teaching this specifically right now. I want to see if you guys can get this right. You can. I'm not going to give you the answer. I want you to show me what the answer is in your notes on Monday, and we will see what happens there. So this is a bonus, but your real homework is lesson 5 on Alex. Okay, lesson 5 on Alex. So after you finish this video, go straight to Alex and do that practice for lesson 5. You're going to see probably a lot of cars like this, a lot of problems like this one with just some bigger numbers. So don't worry about the bigger numbers. It's still the same concept. Okay.